Welcome. I'm the most determined soul, CJ Berry, the leader of Waves and Waves of People and Determination. And today we are talking about the Tekken roster and not really how to choose your character, but kind of talking through how you should look at these characters based off your gameplay experience. I think that's the best way to explain this. So hold on to your butts, grab a cup of coffee. Let's talk about it. So, the very first thing that I want to talk about is how we're looking at this, right? We're looking at this from a stance of how well you play overall in the games, right? And if you're coming to me as a new person that knows nothing about Tekken, there's a place for you. If you're coming to me as a person that plays fighting games in general and understands mechanics, there's a place for you. And then if you come in over here and you have a lot of Tekken experience, we got a place for you there too. So based off of that, we have this, the way we're rating these characters is based off of the skill set somebody has, not necessarily that, hey, they're easy for everybody and anybody can pick it up. If you're an expert, I'm not talking about that, all right? If you're looking for that, this might not be a place to argue with somebody to get your point across. This is more so in reference to, hey, we're having a discussion of either I just joined the game and I'm trying to figure it out, or B, I'm trying to choose a new character. And as I'm trying to choose this new character, how would this character mold to me, and what do I need to do to be successful? That was the whole argument to begin with. And I was extremely annoyed. I'm like, bro, it doesn't really work that way. So stop it. But anywho's, again, we have at the top Easy Masher, brand new person. That's kind of like a one spot. Casual buttons, that's 2. You're playing casually. You have somewhat of an understanding. But 3, I think that's an important one because that's the kind of the group that we're looking at, right? We're looking at that guy that's seasoned, that wants to understand the character and what character should I utilize in order to play this game. I think that's where we're going to be focused at. And then we have veteran. You've been playing Tekken for a long time, but you haven't played Tekken 8 yet. So if I pick up a character, I'm going to rank up really, really fast. That's where that part is. And then expert. Generally, you know what expert is. You're going to go straight to the top regardless. So that's kind of how we're looking at that. Thank you. If you got any comments about this, fight me. Oh, lastly, the very last thing about this is the base of this comes from event hubs, and event hubs kind of put their thing together. And so I'm going to make reference to the event hubs list that was made of the easy tier list, ease tier list. Yeah, the ease tier list. That's where I'm getting it from. But then I have my 2 cents on it, so I'm going to move them up or down based off of what I believe and based off of what I've been speaking to with my community. I had several people talk with me about the list last night, and I think we came to a good conclusion with this. So let's go ahead and figure this thing out. So here we are. Here's the list. You see it. You saw it previously. We're going to do this in alphabetical order. It's just easier that way. At least for me it is. So we're going to start with Elisa. I think Elisa is a wonderful character. She is pretty daggone dope. However, she's not for everybody. Kind of is what it is. Elisa, Event Hub said she was a 1, but I would like to disagree with that. I think she's probably a 2. She's casual buttons, right? You can casually pick her up. If you understand stances, you can ultimately figure her out, right? In the hands of the expert, she's probably really, really deadly, right? But you can, once you figure out her chainsaws, you can ultimately figure her out. So I'm willing to put her in this casual buttons section here, and I think that's fair. She's not an easy mashing character. At least I don't think so. Next one is Asuka. They had her down as a 2, but I think she's a 3. She's another character that you really have to have a firm grasp of the game. You have to be a seasoned person to really understand her moveset and what she's going to be doing. If you're brand new to the game, I wouldn't recommend her at all. Even if you're like, I'm casual, I kind of understand, I wouldn't recommend her. I would say, hey, take Asuka and make her a 3 and make her a seasoned character. She has reversals. She has all sorts of stuff in there. She has the can-cans. They're really, really annoying. But it's going to take some time to really sit down and lab her and really get used to her. I kind of put her in that 3 section. She is for a seasoned Tekken player. Azucena. I think the same rules apply with Azucena. There's a lot of arguing that we did about Azucena, but I don't think she's a brainlet. I don't think she's a brain dead character. I think she's at least a 2 because she has a lot of parries. And if you don't understand the parry system within this game, you're probably going to have a hard time. But you can, if you're a seasoned veteran expert player, you can pick her up casually and figure it out, right? I think that's fair. All right, I had to come in and say it don't make sense that they're bringing Lydia back. I'm just being honest. It feels redundant. I don't know. We talked about that a little bit earlier, music. That was like one of the first things we talked about. And Lydia is pretty solid. I don't see anything wrong with that. I mean, it's kind of like, why do they have Panda and Kuma? Kind of one of those things, but I think she's all right. But right now we're talking about how easy a character is with the game. I'm actually making a video about this, so if I don't respond appropriately to you, it's because I'm making a video. I'm trying to stay on topic so I can be within the time frame here. All right, so now let's hit on Brian. I think Brian is an extremely hard character. Brian is at least a 4.5. I know there's not an in-between section here, but Brian is a very, very difficult character to learn. Like you can pick, like I'm pretty, like people are, well, I picked him up easy. Yes, but do you have his taunt down? Do you have his jet up or down? I'm willing to say you got to give him at least a month of know-how to really get him down in saying that he's viable for you. Do you see Brian's at higher levels? Yeah, sure. You see Brian's at higher levels, but that's because they are seasoned, and they probably had started off with another character and they say, hey, I can't get it done with what I'm trying to do, and Brian kind of fits that mold. So I'm willing to put Brian in the expert section versus putting him in that that four section. Oh, we left Brian. Claudio. Claudio is a very interesting character. I think on paper, Claudio is pretty daggone solid. I'm going to put him in the Leo section and saying that on paper, Claudio is probably one of the best characters in the game. He just looks goofy. He looks super duper goofy. And he's like the Baldo of Tekken 8, in my opinion. I think if you changed his stance and the way he stands and change his outfit, I think more people would use him. But outside of that, freaking Claudio, I'm gonna go ahead and put him in the casual buttons. He's very easy to pick. He's very easy to pick up in this game. So if you're a seasoned player, I would pick him up. If you are just getting into Tekken, you probably be able to pick him up without an issue. But yeah, I think he's right there at that casual, like, hey, I can pick him up if I'm a casual. If I'm seasoned, I can pick him up fairly easy from that point on, right? Then we got Devil-Jin. I think Devil-Jin, there's nothing else to say about Devil-Jin. All Mishimas are hard. He's pretty much a base character. My friend said that he's about a 4 instead of a 5, but I say he's a 5. But because I'm going also off my community and what they were saying in the Discord, I am going with Devil-Jin being a 4 and not a 5. He has a lot of tricks and tools in his toolkit. I'm willing to put him right there. Next up, we have Dragunov. Dragunov is pretty cool. A lot of people say he's a no-brainer. He's really easy, and he's a 1. But I think you need to be a little seasoned in order for you to be a Dragunov user, right? I think you need to be seasoned in order for you to be a Dragunov user. And hear me out. He's at least a 3, right? Because if you're brand new to the game or you're generally seasoned, I don't think you're going to be able to use, I don't think you'll be able to use Dragunov with his 2 moves. You still have to have a strong understanding of Tekken. So if you're a seasoned like veteran, there's this in between, this seasoned veteran you're playing Tekken 7 and you were playing with Drag, yeah, I think you'll be able to pick him up. But I don't think he's a 1. I think he's at least a 3 in this game. Next one, Fang. Fang is a character that I think was very, very easy in Tekken 7. What is it? Was it down back 3 or back 3? Something, that little wiener slide that he had with his foot, that opened people up a lot. But it's not used in the same light in this game. It kind of is what it is. Fang, I'm willing to put him in the 3 section because he's a lot harder. I don't think someone that's playing this game casually would be able to pick him up as easily. Like if you're like, hey, I'm going to play this game, I'm picking Fang, and I'm just going to be a loyalist, you're going to have a hard time. It's going to take a little bit longer to pick him up than it was with Tekken 7. So I would say you have to be fairly seasoned. He is for a seasoned person, and I wouldn't recommend him if you're casual. But if you're seasoned or you're a veteran, I'm like, yeah, go ahead, pick him up. He's great to use. He has a lot of tools. But I put $1 million on it. You're gonna switch to somebody else over time because he just doesn't have everything that you need to be successful, is what it is. Next after that is Harong. I think Harong is one of the hardest characters to pick up. Now, there's different levels of Harang, however you want to say it. And those one's going to correct me. His name's Harang, and going to spell it out phonetically. Screw you. But with Harang, or Harang, I'm going to say Harang. I say Harang because of Tekken 3. I don't know if you remember Tekken 3, they didn't say Harang, they said Harang. So I'm going to say Harang because I'm a Tekken 3 player. But on the front end, Harang, he's just 2 buttons, very similar to Steve, right? He's just 2 buttons, 3 and 4. But when you dig a little bit deeper, you're like, okay, I got to take care of these whiffs. I'm going to punish these whiffs. And he's the king of whiff punishes, but there's a level of understanding that you have to have with Harang in order for him to get down. So is he easy? Can he be a button mashing character? Yeah, sure. But I wouldn't recommend it to somebody that's new to Tekken. It kind of is what it is. He is definitely a character that is on the harder side of Tekken 8. And I strongly recommend that either you start playing with a couple other characters first and understand the game before you start picking up Harang. And even then, you'll have somewhat of a grasp of him when, I'm going to say within about 2 weeks, you're like, okay, I get it. But then you're gonna hit a glass ceiling. And you're like, you're just right there, and you're just never. And that's why I say he's more of an expert character, because there's always this glass ceiling with him. I skipped a letter. I said I was gonna do this alphabetically. And the character that we skipped over by mistake, I'm sorry, is Eddie. Eddie, I think he's a very, very easy character. Now, here it is. There's an argument that he's very similar to Harang, where it's like, once you get in higher ranks, he's difficult. Like, you can go 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, all the way up to red ranks, maybe even purple ranks. But that's kind of my point there, why he's easy, because you cannot do that with Harang. You're gonna hit your ceiling, probably in orange ranks. And then that's when you actually got to learn him, right? But with Eddie, you really don't have to learn anything, because while pushing 3, it still does the mix-up. And if a person doesn't know Eddie or hasn't been playing against Eddie, they're not going to know the mix-up, and they're going to get tripped up a lot. And then you can go and autopilot a whole lot with using a character like Eddie. So Eddie, I think he's easily a masher character. So if you're just playing Tekken, Mash till your heart's content. Eddie's your guy. Eddie is definitely your guy. Next, Jack 8. In my opinion, and the opinion of the people in our community, originally they were saying Jack was a 2, but then as we continue to talk, we agreed. Jack is a freaking solid 2, man. He's very, 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 very solid 2. And I don't think a lot of people will disagree with him being a solid 2. He is just all around a Tekken character. If you want to learn frames, and someone says, hey, I've been playing Tekken a while and I would love to learn Tekken frames, boom, start with Jack. Jack will teach you how to learn frames, and then you could probably pick up any other character because you're going to have a very, very strong understanding of how frames work once you utilize him. And because he's a little bit slower, and now he has a couple stances to go along with it. I think he's a wonderful character to utilize when you're trying to learn Tekken, really, in general. So yeah, he's a solid 2. If you're a seasoned veteran or expert player, you're going to be a problem. I use the example of a guy that we all know in general, Joe Crush. Joe Crush is a great example of a person that took a character that's very easy to learn and just mastered it. Just mastered this character, man, and he killed it. And you know, I think he was the first Jack Tekken God of Destruction out there. But yeah, great character, great character, great character. We have Jin. Jin. Jin is a character that is a core and fundamental character, and it takes a lot to understand him, but he's easy on the front end and very difficult on the back end. And I don't know why they made him like that. Hey, what's up, L? I don't know why they made Jin that way, to where he's so difficult, even though he's like a core fundamental, this is Tekken type of character, right? But I think we all agreed that that he's at least a 4 in this. He's very difficult to learn. Like I said, on the front end, like you're gonna get all the way up to about the tail end of yellow ranks, and then you're like, oh snaps, what do I do next? June. We put June at, where did we put June at? We said that she is very similar to Asuka. She's very stringy. Her string extends a little bit further than Asuka's. So she's a little bit more advanced than Asuka. We put her right there in the veteran section. I'm pretty sure a couple people will disagree. A guy named Mal Coolcat, he came in and started arguing about that. But it's like she has a very similar moveset to her. But understanding the rest of that moveset is more of the issue. And I don't, in the hand of a seasoned or a casual player, they're going to be able to do damage, but boom, there's going to be a plateau. Once you get to veteran status, that's when you're going to be really, really dangerous with her, and you're going to be able to move forward. Are people going to be able to win with her? Yes. But that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about how easy it is to win here. We're talking about how easy it is to use the character in general. And if we're going to tell somebody that is a seasoned player or a expert or a button masher and everything else in between, what's a good fit for them and where they're at in their Tekken career. So we put June probably right there at a 4. Argue with your mammy. Kazuya. This is the one I actually argued with pretty hard here. I think Kazuya is probably the easier, or I'm going to just say Kazuya, because I sound weird saying Kazuya. Kazuya, I think he's one of the harder characters to play it, but the argument was he's easy to pick up and he's extremely hard to do with execution, like getting his perfect electrics and some of his other moves. And getting the wave dash down to a T is the thing that makes them difficult, and that's going to take an expert to get there. And I'm like, okay, I'll buy that, because that definitely does take time to get there. But I was originally putting Kazuya right here at seasoned because he has some crazy good mix-ups, And with his crazy good mix-ups that he had, you can get really, really far with him. But to really get far, you're gonna have to be an expert with them. And honestly, I wouldn't even advise it to a seasoned player unless they're gonna be a character expert. And most Kazuya players are character experts, and they just stick with him day one. And so that's why we put him in the expert section. Next one, we have King. I think King is a great example of a character that people think is easy and brain dead because they're having a hard time playing against him. But actually using him, his strategy is fairly difficult. I think King is at least, we said he was a 3.5, but for the sake of this story here, I'm going to say at least a 3. Bare minimum, a 3 here. King, the strategy with the grabs, like at first you're like, yo, I'm just going to grab you. I'm going to grab you. I'm going to mix you up with the grabs. But what's next? What's next after that? Boom, the person ducks. Oh, what are you going to do now? What are you going to do now? What mix-up game do you have? They think you're gonna grab, but you force them to duck. So now are you grabbing low? Are you grabbing high? How are you putting it all together? I think that's really important with King. And like being a 2, being easy to pick up, I don't think so. And then just remembering all the different grabs that you can do. And to somebody else's point in the community, they said specifically, if you're playing the game and you can do a giant swing without a move that sets up, that's expert. That's like expert status. That's really expert status. But if you're still setting people up to get into giant swing, or for that matter, there's a lot of setups to get to your grabs. You're probably in. That means you're still in this area right here. And there's so much more to open up with King to really understand him. So we all agreed that he's at least a 3.5, but right now we're going to just stick him in the season section. Next one, Kuma. They said Kuma was a 3, but I think Kuma, and for the sake of, I'm pretty sure you don't want to hear it twice, Kuma and Panda, we're going to put in the expert section. They are very difficult characters to utilize, and most of the reason is because they're gimmicky characters. They're very gimmicky, and unless you understand the gimmick, you're going to have a hard time. Their arms are stubby. They have a very large hitbox. You're going to get launched a lot if you don't understand the character, and you're going to whiff a lot if you don't understand the character. So it's literally that simple. Lars, according to Event Hubs, Lars is a 3. But I think we all agreed last night with the community that Lars is at least a 2. There wasn't a lot of a Lars experience that we had in there, but we knew that Lars was fairly easy to pick up. He had a couple of stances. His stances are difficult to get in and out of, but overall, you can pick him up and be just fine. I think he was a little bit lower in the area of expertise there. And he's not a butt masher. You got to know what you're doing. But if you were a casual and you just like the way he looks, he's a great character to utilize, and you get fairly far. You at least get in orange ranks and without any labbing and just getting that experience from just playing the game, you'll be fine. Next one we go across is Law. Event Hut said he was a 3, but I'm willing to say, and I really am willing to agree, we had a subject matter expert as a Law player, which was Carnage. I don't know if anybody knows Carnage. Carnage is a Law player, and Musashi was our community Law player, and they both were like, yo, he's definitely at least a 2. I initially didn't agree with him. I thought Law was a 3. He has quite a few things. He has quite a few tools in his toolkit you have to understand in order to be successful with them. But they were like, yo, all of his lows, they're going to catch you off guard, and you can move right up the ranks and do just fine with Law here. And you're not brain dead, but you'll be just fine utilizing Law. I'm like, okay, cool, that's what's up. So we said he's a casual buttons. He's a casual character, and you can pick him up really, really easy if you were to recommend it to somebody that's just picking up the game or re-entering into this space right now. Next up, we have Lee. I think we all agreed that Lee was a harder character. It takes some time to learn. They made him easier to access in this game, but we all agreed that he was a little bit harder to learn this go round. Excuse me, not harder, a little bit easy to learn this go round. So we put him in the 4 section. I think that's super fair. The next one, out of Lee, I know that was like, I kind of skimmed through them, but it kind of is what it is. We got Leroy. They said Leroy was a 2, but we all agreed that Leroy is extremely hard this go around. We put him at a 3 because he is not a DLC. He doesn't have his DLC buffs anymore. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? He just doesn't have his DLC buffs, and his stances go a little bit slower. I haven't seen too many Leroys in the game, but Leroy is a little bit more difficult this go around, and it kind of is what it is. You can't do the same things that you were doing in Tekken 7 with Leroy. They nerfed him to oblivion. He is very, very, very difficult if you do not know what you're doing. So he's definitely a seasoned character to use. Lily, I think we all agreed that Lily was really strong and ultimately had one of the best female hitboxes in the game. And we all agreed that Lily was at least a 2. Lily was at least a 2. She has a lot of stuff in her toolkit to make her successful, and a lot of people have been using her because of how easy she is. If you've been on Twitter or X, if you go to X, you see a lot of Lily gameplay over there. A lot of people using her, and they're beating the tar out of people right now with Lily because she's just so easy to pick up. Again, she's not a button mashing character, but she's still fairly easy. Nina, no joke, we all agreed that Nina was really, really hard. On the front end, it seems like, that 1-1-2 type moves that she has. Yeah, that's really easy to pick up. She has a whole lot of really easy concepts in her gameplay, but Nina overall is a very difficult player to use. I'm sorry. We didn't say, no, Event Hub said it was a 5. We all agreed that she was a 4. Someone said it was between a 3 and a 4, but she is a 4. Let me see. Let me look at my notes. Somewhere between 3 and 4. She has stance cancels that make her pretty hard. This is not for beginners at all. So yes, Nina's at least a 4. You got to be a veteran to use her. Again, that was the community opinion. I still think she's a 5. I think she's a little bit harder to pick up. But the community, as a community, we say, all right, we'll meet each other halfway. She's a 4. And now, next, we already talked about Panda. Put them in the same place. Paul. I think Paul is Tekken. He's all the way Tekken. However, he's a seasoned character. But here's the argument with Paul. I would give Paul to a beginner that says, hey, I'm going to dedicate my efforts and time to Tekken. And 9 times out of 10, I'm just going to say pick Paul. Because Paul, he has the motion inputs. He has just regular inputs. He's able to punish really well. He has very, very great damage. He has great wall damage. He's just a great all-around character. So it's like, boom, if you're trying to learn a Mishima, pick Paul up first. And then go to Mishima. Put about 2 weeks to a month into Paul, learn him, and then get to a Mishima. Everything else is going to be like riding a bike, I swear. Really, really good character. Strongly recommend him. But we all agreed that Paul is for a seasoned person, and a seasoned person can get very, very far with Paul. Put him in that middle zone. He's a 3 out of 5. Argue with your mammy. All right, Raven. Very gimmicky character. We definitely put him in the 4 slot there. There's a lot of Tekken understanding you have to have if you're using Raven right now. He's not easy to pick up. He has motion inputs too, which makes him a difficult character. And you press at the wrong time if you want to, you're going the other way. So we put him in that veteran section. All right. Reina. A lot of people said Reina is the easier Mishima. She's the easier Mishima to utilize. They said she was a dumbed down Hayachi. Ew. She's a dumbed down Hayachi, dare we say. The reason why a lot of people pick her up, there's a lot of fan service that goes along with her. But I think she's a very difficult character to utilize. Any Mishima is very difficult, but I think she's the Mishima that's the easiest to use. She's definitely right there. If not that, she's at least a 3. And you know what? I'm making a decision and I'm overriding the community. She is a 3 more than she is a 4. Somebody said she was probably a 2, but she's definitely an entry-level Mishima. I think she's a 3, and I'm going to keep her right there in that 3 section. I think that's super duper fair. Super fair. Super fair. The next one we're going to go to is Shaheen. Shaheen is very similar to Raven, honestly, and I'm willing to put him in that same category right now. But let me go back and check my notes. Shaheen, easy character to use. Moves have changed, but he's slept on. He's a solid 3. He has a couple stances would make him difficult. But if you want to get into Raven, I think Shaheen is an entry-level Raven, and we can ultimately put him in the 3 section then in that case. And he's right there middle ground. He's a middle ground character. He's like a core character there. Use him. I think you'll be perfectly fine using him, but you're going to fail if you're mashing buttons still, is what it is. Next one, we got Steve. I think everybody agrees that Steve is very difficult. He's a 5, straight up. He's pretty high up there with being the hardest character in the game. He has 2 buttons, and people are like, oh, it's just 2 buttons. It's just 2 buttons. But it's like, yo, he has the way you have to dodge and move with Steve. That's the issue more than anything else. Not necessarily that Steve himself is hard to understand. Like, yeah, you got 2 buttons. He's a boxer. That's really easy to comprehend. But it's like, yo, he's more than just 2 buttons. He's more than just 2 buttons, guys. So then you add in the side steps. Not the side steps by pushing down, but the side steps by hitting the kick buttons. And when he's dodging and weaving and swaying back, that's when he start like, yo, what is this? And how come I keep on getting hit? And being able to recognize when somebody's going to throw a punch. So I think this is very fair in saying that he's like a 5. But the next one we got is Victor. We all agreed that Victor is the entry-level character for anybody that's trying to play Tekken 8. Sue me. He is definitely an entry character for anybody that's playing Tekken 8 right now. That's not to say that he's a bad character or anything like that. But 2 is the answer. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Very similar to Eddie, where it's 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. But he's kind of brain dead. Now, could you become a subject matter expert with that character and be more than a brain dead person playing the game? Yeah, absolutely. We're not saying that at all. But for somebody that's playing the game and is like, I'm coming into Tekken, who should I choose? Victor. And then at the end of the day, once you get him down, it's like, oh, okay, I understand some of his moves here. Then you can start playing Tekken for real, and you start moving up the ranks pretty fast. Next, we have Ling Xiaoyu. Ling Xiaoyu, she has quite a few stances to learn. Personally, I think she's a 5, but a lot of the other guys said she's a 4. I'm gonna have to put it in the 4 section because, you know, it kind of is what it is. That's where she's at. Argue with your mammy. Oh, we skipped one. We skipped Leo. Man, we didn't do this alphabetical order after all. Leo, boom. Leo, he is a 3. Seasoned character, got a lot of great mix-ups. 50-50, a lot of 50-50s. On paper, Leo in Tekken, in previous Tekkens, on paper was the best character on paper. But now I don't know. I really don't know on paper anymore if Leo is the best character. But right now, I'm willing to say that if you want to learn Tekken, that's a great character to learn. The issue you're going to run into is always the stances. Any character that has some stances, you're always going to run an issue. If it wasn't for Leo's stances, boom, I would have been like right here. but Leo has a lot of stances. Now we're all the way to Yotsumitsu. I think Yotsumitsu is easily a 4. Yotsumitsu is very difficult to learn. He has a lot. Like, each person that plays Yotsumitsu is going to play him differently, and a lot of Yotsumitsus that are out there, they don't play the same, and it kind of is what it is. So Yotsumitsu is a great character to use, but you're gonna have to be a veteran to utilize him. So he's about a 4 on the scale, putting him in the veteran section. And then lastly, we have our girl Zafina. Zafina is a solid 3 here. You can't button mash with her. You can't play her casually. You're gonna have to put some time and effort into Zafina and Zafina gameplay. It kind of is what it is with her, but she's not too hard to figure out. She's not too hard to learn. So boom, that's where we have her at. If you got a problem with this, argue with your mammy. It is what it is. Argue with your freaking mammy, all right? Don't argue with me, because I'm not the only one that made this tier list. I didn't do this by myself. I did it with a couple people in the community. And if you want to talk about this tier list, come to the Discord. We're in our VC quite frequently talking about stuff in the Discord. So with that being said, guys, I really appreciate you staying here and watching this video. Talking about these tier lists. If you have questions, comments, or concerns, please leave them in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. Success and victory. Don't block with your face, and I will see you guys on the next time. Peace out.